Yes, it is Wednesday. Welcome everyone to the Wednesday night live show. It was weird not doing a show. I did no shows last week. It was so strange not doing a show. But we're back. We're back. Everybody other than Paul, I think, celebrated Thanksgiving. I hope everybody out there had a wonderful Thanksgiving with family and friends and ate plenty of leftovers for the next 3 days. I'm actually going to make ham and cheese sandwiches with all the ham that I have left. So I'm going to make calzones, ham and cheese calzones to put
There
in
you
the
go.
freezer. Oh, I have an Italian mother. All right, let's get to it. We got a lot to talk about today. I thought we'd have Paul, our what do you want to call yourself? You're a mixologist? Can I call you a mixologist?
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it's a mixologist,
it's
PhD.
pretty much what I am these days. But
Yeah.
Like Paul's our jack of all trades.
He's a jack of. He's a PhD pretty soon. I mean, he does everything. He does everything. And the reason, yeah, go ahead.
that's still a whiles away yet.
Yeah. That's a ways away.
But
The reason I bring it up though is because I had 3 people the other day during the Thanksgiving go, well, how about all the metals in there? How about all the metals in there? And I thought, you know what? Let's get back to the basics. Maybe somebody will watch this down the road. I know most of our viewers know what's in our e-liquid. They understand how it all works, how it's all mixed together, what coils we're using, what type of wire, all that stuff. I know that, but I'm hoping that somebody else will see the show and get a better understanding of what's inside our e-liquids. Because if I hear one more person tell me about the metals, all the metals that are in your e-liquid, I'm like, what metals, dude? I mean, dude, here, take a magnet, put it next to me. I should be every magnet should stick to my body for as much as I vaped in the last 12 years. Am I right?
No, it's because when they do those tests, they close the tank off the airflow and they crank it up over what the wattage is supposed to be, and that produces
metals.
what they want.
It produces a little bit more than that, and
formaldehyde.
They're effectively baking the liquid. They're not doing anything else.
Yeah,
they're changing the chemical composition.
Yeah,
simple as that.
Yeah,
right.
I mean, if I could take anything, and if I put enough heat to it, it's going to change from what it was prior to being. So yeah. So I figured we go into it a little bit, and then I figured it'd be kind of a good idea to. And I don't know how much of this Paul knows, but exactly where this stuff is coming from. I think that's kind of a thing that we'd all kind of would like to understand a little bit more. Is
the metal mines.
Yeah, where are the concentrates coming from? Where's the e-liquids coming from? Who's mixing these things and who's putting them together, and how do they know what they're doing? So I hope, Paul, you can answer all those questions today. Look, he took a deep breath. He's like, John, you got it.
Well, for the most part, there are a lot of questions I can answer, but due to other reasons, there are some questions that I can't answer these days.
Yeah, well, Allie will take over there because she knows too.
Just point at Allie and she'll say the words, and then she'll point back at you.
You point to Allie, hold the word up. Allie will say it for you.
Okay, I'll get a piece of paper. Allie,
say this word here, and then Tim will correct her because probably
just write acronyms, Paul. Just write like a letter and a period, and a letter and a period, and just hold it up.
I saw them over and over and over again when I was doing PMTA.
I know that word. That'll be Allie. I know that word right there. Damn it.
Well, no, it's not so much the words. It's
the theory and how it's all.
It's simply because I'm under NDA with a few different companies now, but I can give you the outside of what's looking in. I can't give you the core.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah, you can give it. Yeah, we'll figure out what you can.
Not everybody's going to be getting the same stuff you are anyway. So just a generalized.
Yeah, we'll do our best. I think it's a good idea to kind of understand where you can tell us where the stuff comes from. Yeah. So I mean that's the important part. What corporation, what company is manufacturing these concentrates? Where they're coming from? What else are they used for other than e-liquids? So kind of like that general idea could let people understand that how this has all come about. And,
probably the most interesting part will be that the vaping sector from food flavorings is about 3% in comparison to the rest of what these flavorings are actually used in.
Yeah.
And a lot of people will be shocked that the two biggest industries, believe it or not, are actually the pharmaceutical and pharmaceutical cosmetic in that section, and the third is food.
Cool.
We're way down on the food scale. Way down.
Let's say hello to that guy that's he's doing that.
Yeah, I'm fiddling with this goatee I've been growing over the holiday season.
Slow down.
It's getting kind of full.
Hair? Is there hair there?
You're lucky you work from home. You can't go in with that.
Yeah,
what is that?
Used a little Grecian. Used a little Grecian formula in there. Got rid of the gray.
I got a black Sharpie over here.
I need to. Yeah, I gotta learn to do this. All you guys with goatees are all this crap.
They always do that. They always do that.
You look like you're trying to grab an ice cream cone or something.
Well, let's say hello, Tim. Tim, how you doing? How was your week?
Hey, everybody.
How was your Thanksgiving?
It was nice. It was a little chaotic. I had to run around. I don't have any family here in Atlanta, so I fortunately have friends here who are willing to put up with me for a handful of hours as I eat their food and spend time talking to them. So I did dinner at one person's house, and then I went over for like a Friendsgiving thing that evening, and we did like the dessert hall. So I kind of split it between two friend groupings. So it was nice. Yep. Other than that, nothing. I did my my big Black Friday shopping. Of course,
you did it, huh? You didn't go outside and stand in line anywhere.
And I shop all my shit online. I might as well just be a vampire when it comes to shopping.
Is that better? Is that better than standing in line? Is it still the same thing? You're still kind of doing the Black Friday thing, but
I will tell you the last 3 times I stood in line for fucking anything. Concert tickets when I was like 17, 18 years old, and we had to go to Hex Company and stand in line to buy our concert tickets. I don't, now everything's online. The first, I think it was Vanilla Wow, Pandaria, and maybe Burning Crusade, standing in line at midnight at Best Buy to buy the release for World of Warcraft, because everything was still on CD/DVD then. Not like now where you can just download it. It's all streaming. It's like streaming, but not really. So there was that, and then like fucking Disney. You're in the eternal line. Disney, and that that's it. I pretty much call it quits after that. Now, I can't say that. I do go out and do stand in lines of reasonable proportionates, but not for shopping. Fuck that. I just Amazon. There you go.
Yeah.
So there's no shopping there. Allie, how's your Thanksgiving?
Well, I do all of Thanksgiving, so I cooked everything myself. And I worked on Wednesday, and then I had to work on Friday. So, well, I didn't go in on Friday, but I was supposed to work on Friday, so I was just dead. I got home. Yeah,
she was there.
I got home from work on Thursday and like just started prepping everything that I could, and then decided that I was going to try to master my own pie crust and make a homemade pumpkin pie. I have no idea why I decided to do that while I was cooking all of that food.
That's easy. Well, never mind.
Well, the pie crust though, I've done it a bunch of times just to try to get it right, because I've really I can get it to taste good, but I want it to look pretty.
Yeah, pie crust.
Yeah, so
good. And the guy that's didn't celebrate Thanksgiving, how's your week gone?
I'm doing okay. I'm doing okay so far. Just trying to deal with taxation issues at the moment.
Don't pay them. Don't pay them. Fuck them.
Really? They have the ability now to shut all your accounts down now.
Yeah, they just throw you in a dungeon in Australia.
Come on, Paul. You don't have a what is that? What do they call that? Tim will hit me with it. What is it when you have a secret identity? What is that?
No.
An alias?
An alias. There it is. You don't have. You have to have an alias. You wouldn't be Paul without an alias.
No.
I mean, I think
they got his blood work on file. They'll find
out your taxes.
Fuck taxes. I said it right here on the Wednesday Night Live show.
Well,
Fuck
now
that.
the secret's out. We're never going to see Paul again.
I'm going to pull. Who is it? Denzel Washington? Is that the guy that was the tax evader?
Yeah.
Or no. Was it him? Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't want to get the wrong guy. Yeah.
No idea, but no, I've just been dealing with that
No,
and
pay your
and
taxes.
prepping for all these wacky questions that I'm going to be asked tonight.
Yeah, we're going to hit you up.
How many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop, Paul? Can you talk about that?
No, he's under.
No, that's easy. Over 9,000.
Over
1,
9,000.
2, 3, 3.
3.
There's 3, Paul.
With that being said, Mr. Tim, will you say hello to those people that have been listening to this nonsense for the last 12 minutes?
Leaving.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to this week's edition of Wednesday Night Live, the show that just keeps on ticking. Let's see all those people with busting waistlines after the Thanksgiving holiday. I know everybody's tried to watch their calorie counts on Thursday, but you know what? Fuck it. That was out the window. Tam Spraggins, good to see you. How are you? Welcome back to the show. Always good to see you. So, my man from Germany. What's up, brother? How you doing, man? Wait a minute. Wait. World Cup. Did Germany get in? Did Germany make it to the knockout rounds? So, comment, please.
As they say in Italy, bull.
I don't know. I know the U.S. made it. I know that, and I know. Yeah, I know that much. I know Poland made it, and they didn't even have to win. Anyway, Mallory Gates, always wonderful to see you. How are you? And there's Zampelbox in the chat. Good to see Zampelbox back every week. Yep. Way to come back. Let's see who else we got. We got. Hold on, I gotta scroll. Hold on, I'm gonna get Carpal here in a minute. Good God, it's like everybody on the show is in the chat. I got to get past all of those people first. Jeff Danny boy, good to see you. How you doing, man? Good to see you back here on the show. Curtis Clemens, always good to see you on the show. Bruni Saint in the house. What's up? Liana, always wonderful to see you. Paul Fisher, go ahead. You can talk off-topic stuff. There's plenty. Yeah. Curtis will fill you in on anything you need to know for the next hour and 45 minutes.
That's right.
Let's see who else did I get. I got Paul. I got Bruni. I got Michael Redfern. Great to see you. How are you, sir?
Anthony. Did you get Anthony?
Anthony who? Oh, he's at the bottom.
Yeah,
that's Eric's brother, Anthony Estrada. That's Eric Estrada's brother.
I was like thinking, who's Eric?
Hey, Anthony, good to see you. How you doing, man? Welcome to the show. Glad everybody had a wonderful Thanksgiving and ate their faces off.
Here's breaking news. For the first time ever in the World Cup edition, Germany failed to win their first 2 group games. That is sad.
God damn it, though. Get your team in order.
Yeah.
Next time it's in the U.S., man. So
they'll just boycott it. Nobody will show up.
Germany's not boycotting nothing.
Italy will just be. Italy won't make it because they fucked up already this year. But yeah, U.S. will be playing themselves. It'll be the U.S. men's team against the U.S. women's team.
Curtis says he'll be here 10 minutes tops. All right, I'm starting the clock.
Time.
One comment over 10 minutes, and I'm coming for you, buddy. I'm joking. You can stay as long as you want. I'm just playing.
Did you get everybody, Timmy?
I think so. And congratulations to Australia.
Yeah.
Australia snuck in there with the 1-0 win.
And U.S. beating Iran.
Well, I said that before. I said the
did
U.S.
You?
made. Yeah, I did. You weren't paying attention, apparently.
I try not to. Not during this part of the segment. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about e-liquids and what's in there, where it comes from, who's making it, how it gets distributed, all that stuff. Let me clarify. Only the stuff Paul is allowed to talk about. Allie will fill in the gaps because Allie's got a pretty good general idea of.
We have a lab.
Yeah, you have a lab, and
I don't go in it much, but we have one.
Yeah, I want to start off, Paul, with concentrates because that's the big thing. Flavors is the big thing. So I kind of explain the differences in the concentrates, what we use and what is used for other stuff. That ours is it was a liquid base, a water base. No.
Wrong again.
Alcohol based.
You're the leader of the show.
That's why I'm saying I don't know these things. I should know this stuff. I don't pay attention to that. I just know how good it tastes. So
Okay. It gets broken down into 3 categories.
right. See?
Concentrates used in e-liquid manufacturing 99% of the time are propylene glycol based. That's for a start. The second one, some of them are alcohol based, but the alcohol needs then to be removed from the process in manufacturing. Heating a liquid or a group of concentrates will remove that alcohol from it. So it's at a level that it's workable. But working with alcohol-based concentrates also then thins down the overall mixture. They were generally used in ultra-high level VG ratio liquids back in the early days, but there's not many of them used these days for 2 reasons. One being they're now on a do not fly list, which you can't ship them easily. They have to be packaged completely different to the rest of your order. And they're in, how would you put it? Like a flame retardant type situation. So, and airlines, air freight doesn't like carrying them these days. And then your third concentrate, which is oil-based, or PEG, PEG 400, which is used predominantly in the cannabis space. They're the 3 types. The type that we use is PG-based or food-based, but it's all from a pharmaceutical grade based product that we work with. They're made up of natural ingredients, from esters, from different alcohols, and different extracted flavors. But again, each company has their own secret sauce as to how they put together their flavors. In saying that, the vaping industry generally takes from the food industry. They're all food grade based products that we work with, and they fall under the same stipulation as all the different standards and safety measures that are put in play there. But in the last 3 years, because of TPD compliance, a lot of the chemicals that we used to use 5 years ago are now no longer available or usable because they won't pass muster throughout the European Union. And places like that are UK, Scotland, Ireland. I think Greece is also under that. I know Swiss, German, France, they're all under that same banner now. So all of the nasties that we used to talk about being diacetyl. In custards, oh man, it made custard taste so good.
It did.
But we found a way around that now, and we have custards that actually stand up better than what they did 5 years ago. They're a little bit different. They're not as sweet. They're not as potent. But mixing 2 and 3 custards together to create a pathway, you can do it. It's a lot safer than what we were doing. But diacetyl in liquids, it's irrelevant. There's more diacetyl in a combustible cigarette than anything else.
That's what ruined the coils too, as well, right? The diacetyl wasn't that what created the crust, more crust on our coils?
No, not at all. Okay,
was that the sweetener?
No, it wasn't sweetener either. It wasn't a sweetener that was added to the mixture at all. A lot of the crusting first came about, and we started noticing this with concentrates that were based or sweetened with corn syrup based type situations. The second part that was causing crusting was the introduction of Saltnik, which works completely different. The third difference is a lot of people were going between high and low wattage devices at that time, and flashpoints were being changed very rapidly. They were also using inferior concentrates for the most part. The big players started changing And you'll see now next to a concentrate when you're buying something, it's got a TPD compliance, which means it's falling under that bracket, so it can be used anywhere in the world. Before that, we were just using food flavoring concentrates or based. That was probably a bigger thing. It was hard. It was hard to determine what.
Yeah, max BG.
Yeah. Well, that's part of the reason. Yeah, because vegetable glycerin by itself is a natural sweetener and how it's created. But recently, in the last 12 to 18 months, they've gone down the pathway because a lot of the old VG was palm-based VG. And that's not good for the environment. There's a couple of companies now that are looking at synthesizing vegetable glycerin, and now they've got to the point where it's a viable product. The cost ratio between naturally created VG and pharmaceutical or lab created VG, now there's a play for that market. And I actually hope personally that we get that grade, and we've got 0 impurities, 0, which we've never seen before.
Now, as far as the concentrates, this is one of the, I wanted to ask you, is the concentrates different than what alley shop gets than what European shops get? As far as, even if they're ordering from the same company, is it a different specific type of concentrate that can come to the US only and some that can't?
Yeah, sometimes there's a different SKU. The SKU means, or the manufacturing, or the part number. Yes, there is a different SKU for EU, but a company in the US can actually ask for that SKU. So they're both playing on the same playing field. The difference is...
Is there a difference in how it's made or produced?
No, it's exactly the same manufacturing process, but it's different elements. The chemistry or the molecular structure of that flavor is a little different. You can't use one chemical to create that same flavor that you use in the US as through the EU market. And this is where it gets really, really, really sticky, because if you're trying to create, for argument's sake, a new liquid line specifically for export, you need to use those flavors. But if for argument's sake, you get a mixture of US flavors thrown into that mixture, then it will have to be retested when it gets to Europe or anywhere outside of the United States to test for any of the nasties. It's not an easy task anymore. It's come down to, and we said this years ago when the PMTA really started getting underway in the United States, that this is going to come down to a data war. Who has the real data sets? Who has all the documentation to back up what they're saying and the testing data of a finished product? But then you also have to extrapolate one piece of data, and you have to then say, well, will this liquid in this formulation create diacetyl at the 30, 60, 90, 180 day mark all the way up to 2 years? That's another key issue that needs to be looked at. And this is where a lot of people don't understand the difference to an unsweetened or very low sweetened liquid that comes out of Europe and what you guys are getting in the United States, Canada. Some of the Australian manufacturers as well are using way too much sweetener for what should be achieved.
You're saying we like our shit sweeter?
If
we do, probably. I can see that.
Okay. One country that's really got their head around the way to sweeten things is France and their bakery market. Okay. I'll say right here, right now, their bakeries hands down, are some of the best I've ever tasted.
That makes sense, though. They've been doing that really well for a couple thousand years. Yeah.
But they've figured out ways of using the inherent sweetness of a concentrate to impart more sweetness into their final recipe without adding, well, I'll give one, Capella Super Sweet, which is actually a breakdown of 3 because it's actually got an acid in it to help it, stay along. But the US have always like a lot sweeter inherently than any other country on the planet. If you look at Australian liquids, all of our fruits, especially the tropical ranges that we put out here, and a lot of the custards that we put out here, they're true to form as to what that custard should taste like. And that goes back to, we go backwards and forwards. Yeah, there it is. Analytics is now the key. It's a key component. Analytical chemistry is a key component in manufacturing. If you do not have that chemistry associated with your product, you're not worth a dime anymore. It's not worth it. It's not worth going to market. You go and create 20,000 bottles in the US and you send it to Europe, they test it. Like the first test subject goes through, not a problem. But then you send it with a different formulation or a minuscule formulation, and it gets tested again. Guess what? You got 20,000 bottles of liquid you can't sell anymore. That's it. That's an issue, man.
Yeah. You guys have anything you want to throw in there? Or is it just, I don't have to be the only one. You guys got questions?
I'm not a DIYer, so I'm more or less absorbing information at this point in time.
Well, how many actual concentrate companies out there that we actually buy from
now?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I mean, all the big players are probably using one company.
No.
No. When we did the PMTAs, we had like all the same LOAs, like Flavor West, Capella, all that stuff. We all used, everybody that was in the small vaping sector that was all, doing PMTAs together. We basically all had the same data and same information. We were using all the same stuff.
Wow.
Well, I mean, how many concentrates are we really talking about across the spectrum, right? Because I mean, a million different liquid companies have a strawberry lemonade. A million different e-liquid companies have a straw banana or something like that.
All about how they mix the flavors when they get them to create that.
That was sort of the crux of my question. I mean, are we talking about 1 to 5 primary sources of, say, a banana concentrate, and then once it gets into the hands of the lab that's going to make the final product, then it's more about the fine tuning at that point?
Okay, for the most part, most of the big players started in the United States. You had Capella, Flavora, you had TFA, you had Flavor West, you have a number of smaller companies.
Perfumers Apprentice,
the big one too. Yeah, Perfumers Apprentice is TFA, the Flavors Apprentice.
Oh, yeah.
They predominantly came from the manufacturing, and still to this day, they work in the cosmetic industry and in the food flavoring game and bakery. They're the 3 spaces that they work in predominantly. Capella was, and this is a really funny story, once upon a time, and they actually
they're listening.
out. They
there
actually.
He's back.
No, I'm not.
You're
I'm
cutting
not
in. You're cutting it. There you go. You're back. No, you're kind of cutting in and out.
Sorry.
Oops. No, that's all right.
I don't know. I don't know what's going on. Capella actually screwed. Capella actually screwed up once upon a time, and they actually sent out a concentrate to mixers. That was the actual formula for the Arizona sweet tea. and everyone nearly fell off their chair because we got our hands on it. It was mislabeled. We're all going, but this is Arizona sweet tea. What happened? Yeah. This is just meant to be sweet tea, not Arizona sweet tea.
Yeah.
And then bada bing, that was the first screw up. But then you figure out who the companies are that are manufacturing for these other like sub industries or the bigger industries.
Yeah.
I thought it was hilarious when that happened, but
yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that it's not just us. I mean, it's not just these people are making concentrates for everything that you see that's out there. Any food product that has some sort of flavor to it, these guys got their hands in it.
But then you also have the international players. You have Chemnovatic, who also manufacture for Mullenberry, for SSA. You have French flavor houses that predominantly work in tobaccos and bakery sections of the bakery market. You have FA North America. You have FA Italy, where it started. You have a number of companies now in the UK that are manufacturing specifically for that region and for their taste buds. Then you have what we know as proprietary. Well, they're some of the bigger manufacturers, but they will create proprietary flavors for you, specifically under contract. They're the ones that I can't really go into, and I can say openly that I have a paint box with a lot of custom flavorings in it. Yeah. That's the difference with where we're going now. And the smart players in the industry, or the smart mixers, or the mixing teams, are moving down that pathway now. It's not the smartest. Yeah, the Polish flavor companies. That's who I just said.
Yeah,
that's Chemnovatic, which do a lot of research, development, and manufacturing for a lot of the smaller companies. One being Mullenberry, and one being SSA.
Now, quick question, because it's to you and Allie, because Allie knows she's gotten to see the PMTAs. Are there like companies, would they use one specific flavor concentrate because it works well with this type of flavor, and then another company's for a different? Are you guys like that, Allie? I mean, you have
we do. We get from a few different flavor houses, Perfumers Apprentice, Flavor West. There's another one that we get from too. And we just, it just depends on, the ratio. And a lot of them are mixing different companies' liquids to get a different flavor from something that you've had a million times,
Oh, okay. Yeah. Cause that's what I was always wondering. It's like, okay, I didn't think like one distributor just used this one line. They just figured out, hey, this company's concentrate just makes this juice taste that much better.
No, it's that's where liquid development comes into play, because a lot of us, or where I got a lot of inspiration for creating liquids, is I used to read cooking books and dessert manufacturing books, and I'm like, who can I go to for this flavor, this flavor, this flavor, this flavor, and are you all going to play well together?
Yeah.
And I thought, because that's the other problem.
Yeah, you have so many though. That's the thing. For someone that's a mixologist or is mixing a flavor, it's impossible. Like Tim said, there's like 6 different fucking banana apples.
Yeah. But there's even like from like the Perfumer's Apprentice. Like we just got an order the other day. We got peach, we got juicy peach, we got strawberry, we got ripe strawberry. So it's all different, and it's the same fruit. It's just what the kind of flavor you're looking for.
Okay, so answer your question, Tim. When I was at the top of my game, I had on hand 2,800 to 3,000 flavors in my possession.
Fuck.
and it was like, hang on a second, because TFA once upon a time made one of the best strawberry lemonades until you know, yeah, Mullenberry, they were ahead of their game for the European market. But
I saw Flavor Bible. I had to click on it because I've heard that word so many times.
No, there's so many different, and there's like flavor wheels of what works with what. And
are you ever going to do this though, Paul? Have you thought about putting a book together?
Addy, you'd have to. Addy Tooney's been around in the industry as long as I have, and Addy would have to write the foreword to that book, and there would be a group of us that started in DIY before we became commercial, right? And he'd have to be part of that book. But the Flavor Bible is one. Yeah. Then we get into all the additives and cooling agents, menthols.
That's what I'm saying. It's got to be insane.
what boosts one flavor to create another, or then certain chemicals that bend a flavor into another.
Yeah,
and that's where it gets really interesting. That's where the real nitty gritty of the chemistry comes into play.
Yeah.
We can use one chemical. Right, I can turn your banana into a candy, or I can turn it into a green, or I can turn it this way, that way. But then there's also another product out there that will turn any fruit into a jam base, which is the weirdest thing ever. So you could get any fruit you wanted, and you could turn, for argument's sake, and this is a really weird one, you could turn a tangerine into a jam base. So you could actually have that into what you needed for a section of a filling. It's bizarre.
So like when you first kind of like we've seen all the DIYers that are out there that are kind of getting started into it. Like if you were going to get into it for the first time and just kind of knowing the basics, would you say it would be best to just kind of perfect one flavor first before jumping into, making, like you're saying, start making jams and start doing all this, just kind of focus on one flavor that you enjoy and try to nail that one and then kind of work through, because I can't imagine just having all of these concentrates on a shelf and it'd be like the whole fucking room. It'd be like, where's that banana apple at?
Okay. And that's the next thing that you really this really needs to be nailed down. Okay. That if you are going to get into something, pick 3 recipes that you want to create, buy the concentrates for them, and play until you get to them, until you get to a point where you're happy.
Yeah.
Look, reach out into the community. The DIY community is huge. You start with, again, Addy will say, highly rated recipes to gain where you want to start, right? Don't try and come and play with chocolates and things like that, because it'll taste like a dirty sock or a wet boot.
Yeah, now a lot of these recipes, it's just a breakdown of the flavors. Are these recipes that we see now, are they actually showing this concentrate to use? Or are they just saying
no. They're working with all the different flavor concentrate companies. Okay. There's massive databases, right?
Okay.
But
I didn't know if it just said, hey, 10 milliliters of strawberry.
Oh God, no.
It's actually the company, that the actual companies and the okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering.
But there's also flavor notes and doing single flavor testing when you get a new group, right, of flavors. You buy in flavors and you'll pour it off, in 60, 40, 70, 30 PGVG, but you'll mix it at say 3 to 5% to see what that flavor does and how it reacts over a couple of different weeks. Okay. It's hard. What's this? A few concentrates that I'd be lying. Okay. Look, Paul, it's not an easy task, but it's look, you can make it as simple or
Yeah.
you can make it as hard as you.
Yeah, I think you're
you
right
want
though.
it.
Just find 3 recipes that are gonna work for you, that are your flavor profiles, and
Yeah.
then just kinda stick to and perfect that. Don't just start
Well,
buying
that's what I
thousands of concentrates.
right. Well, that's what I was going to say. And I mean, at least when I saw a lot of people just sort of openly talking about it, it would seem to me that people were trying to replicate
Yeah.
flavors that they had gotten used to buying it off the shelf, so that they were on, there's a website
Yeah.
that tells you what the mixture is to make that. Now,
Mhm.
I'm guessing that that's hit or miss sometimes, because again, you have to get the right concentrate that they used to hit that on the head. I
Right.
mean, if you buy it from vendor A and they got it from vendor C, they might be somewhat different. So, but I do know that that's what a lot of DIYers were doing. They're like, man, I really like that, bearded mustache from blah blah blah.
The
And then
bearded mustache. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
and then
wanna taste that
yeah,
juice, Tim.
and then they, well, I mean, you know how they name them, weird names. But
Yeah,
then
I know.
But
they go, well, so I'll tell you. So one of my most favorite vapes of all time was, and this is how I came up with bearded mustache, but it was a flavor called the Bearded Lady.
Bearded
Was
lady.
what it was called, and it was a raisin cookie, an oatmeal raisin cookie, and I was like, they got raisin in a flavor, and I don't know how they did it, but they nailed it, and it tasted just like that. And then they dropped that flavor. But anyway, that's what people
You
were
bet,
trying to do.
yes. Drop as many as you'd like. We're gonna get to advocacy. This show's about advocacy, but I wanted to kind of focus a little bit about all the nonsense that's out there. Like I said, I had people approach me. I don't know why metals came up again. I don't know if
It's
it's
those
flying
Truth
around
Initiative
again.
commercials with
Yeah,
the dragon, like the heavy metal. It's like you could be inhaling
yeah,
heavy metals.
right. And it's funny because I was talking to my son, and he said, right now, you cannot watch an hour of TV in Washington
Yeah,
and
yeah,
not see at least 6 anti-vaping commercials. He says
yep,
it's so bad in Washington right now, and it's because the law has changed. So they
yep,
feel like they got to hammer it back down again and get everybody back on their side again. He
yep,
said, but at least 6 commercials per hour on television right now
yep,
over there. It's crazy.
yeah. On Thanksgiving when we were watching the football game, it was like a nonstop, and I was getting really pissed. I was like, "Okay,
Yeah.
I've heard." It was the one that's like a
Do you
woman
get
that's
the
like,
looks from the
"I'm fine with
family too?
quitting
I got the
vaping."
looks from the family. They're all
Yeah.
kinda like they
Well,
all look at
no,
me.
no, my family knows better than that. But they literally like this woman, and she's like, "I'm trying to quit," and she's like, "It's so much easier if I just text my help buddy," and I'm like, "Oh my god, I
Mm.
can't, I can't."
Yeah, yeah. Well,
And
let's go
the
ahead.
one more
Yeah,
thing,
yeah,
if you are getting into DIY, and this is possibly the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, you have to keep notes
yep,
of what you're working on. You have to keep, like,
yeah,
once you like first mixing notes, then you have to do 30-day testing notes. You have to be able to tell what that liquid is doing. And as soon as you add nicotine to a liquid or to a mixture, it's starting to form its
that
own.
breakdown. Yeah, yeah.
No,
Deep.
well, it's oxidizing. So what you're doing is you're turning that into something real. You're helping that lovely, lovely, lovely little, path.
Oh.
Well, I tobaccos. Okay,
Yeah,
tobaccos. For
yeah.
argument's sake, a really good tobacco. Addie will probably back me up on this. I think Leanna might as well, but a really good tobacco does not taste any damn. Oh, here we go. No,
Yeah, yeah, all
yeah,
the time.
yeah, all right, yeah, okay. We're not.
Grab your
Yeah,
cameras. Grab your cameras.
hey, yeah, but hang on. What type of bird watching are we talking about? Because here in
You have to
Australia,
ask the CDC. They're
we
the ones
call
that
women.
recommended it.
Well, here in Australia, we call women birds. So yeah, we're going to get into fucking trouble, right? And, enough is enough. But
All
you
right.
have to keep flavoring notes. You have to test the flavors before you just start throwing them together. If
All
you
right.
don't, you're not going to get.
All right, 2 questions
not
because
gonna
we're going to
get
move on
far
to the
forward.
next ones, but I want to
Sure.
kind of get number one, an idea, because I've never shopped for it. Is this something that I can do online? Do I have to have some sort of certification? Any of that stuff? How does that go about? And how much should I order the first time I do it?
Uh,
'Cause that's what I notice people
I,
make the mistake.
I'm never ever going to put a figure on where you should start. As
Okay.
I said, if you buy the ingredients for 3 recipes, enough PG, VG, nicotine to keep you going,
Yeah.
right? You should be fine, right?
Yeah.
But when I can't, because I was naughty when I very first started, and I bought all kinds of things.
I like when Paul says the word naughty.
Naughty.
And
Naughty.
oh, wow. Well, I was very naughty when I first started, and I bought everything that I could get my hands on.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've seen a lot of people in the Zample Box group go that process. I mean, is all of a sudden they went from like having just like one beaker to like all of a sudden a full blown lab in like 3 weeks. Dude, I was like, what the hell, dude?
I know nothing.
Yeah,
I know nothing.
it's like
I know nothing.
I've had in that group. Sometimes we have couples, husband and wife, but the wife's not really into, just there to support her husband. And he's posting pictures of this full lab that he's built in his kitchen, and it didn't take like 2 seconds for his wife to come on there. It's like, yeah, I can't do nothing, can't get to the microwave. He's got beakers over there, he's got scales all over there, and I was just starting laughing.
No comment.
But let me give me a general idea of, say, I'm making one of these flavors. I'm following a recipe, and I need to buy so much. How much does a bottle? What would a normal person buy as far as a bottle size, and how much would that bottle cost? Not what Allie gets, because I'm sure they get it.
You get like gallon, 2 gallon.
Yeah. Because you can buy
that's
15 mil.
That's
right?
actually a hard question to answer now.
Well, son of a bitch.
Well, because you can get flavors in, 10, 30,
Yeah,
100
let's say
mil
a
bottles.
10 mil. Let's say a 10 mil bottle, because you only need a couple drops. So a 10 mil bottle could probably last someone that's making it for their own for quite some time, right?
If you're doing 3 variations of the same recipe and you're changing your percentages, you might get 300 mils out of that 10 mil bottle, out of that one
10 mil bottle
concentrate.
cost on average?
About $5 US.
That's nothing.
It's not that dramatic, but when you start playing with the really interesting flavors, or the ones that are a little bit harder to get, don't Bruni, knock it off. Fucking gin recipes. Well, I do actually make a gin lime and soda. Yeah. It just depends.
That's like right there. That's not how you want someone to get started. Don't go buy a 700 milliliter bottle of fucking concentrate.
No.
But I'm saying you can buy a 10 mil bottle, and then kind of save yourself some money and buy some other concentrates, and for future purposes down the road. That's what I'm trying to get to. You don't need to go out and buy every fucking strawberry, every fucking bubble gum, just kind of fit.
Please don't. I've got 30. Please don't. I've got 30 strawberries plus or something.
Yeah, I know you do. I'm just, like I said, I think it's
please don't. You don't need to go that overboard. You just look at the recipes. TLR is still around.
Yeah, follow that recipes, but I didn't know that the recipes actually said buy so and so's concentrate.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that. I just thought it said buy, if you're trying to make a strawberry banana, buy a strawberry banana.
Someone needs to give Addy Tuning a wrench if that's at all possible, and he'll start throwing in links to everything.
Oh, man. All right.
No.
Let's
Addie's
get in,
fine
let's
with that
get,
one.
yeah, let's get into the two. Real quick, we'll do them as quickly as they can because everybody knows what
Sure.
VG and PG is. So
Yep.
you can kind of give a general idea of what that is and kind of help our viewers understand that a little bit. I mean, it's used basically kind of tell us it's used in everything, just about anything we eat.
Well, propylene glycol is used across just about every single field that we can possibly think of. Not only in food manufacturing, the medical industry, it's used in cosmetics. It's used in, believe it or not, propylene glycol now is used in beer manufacturing in some instances. Where else is it used?
Toothpaste.
It's everything to do with the pharmaceutical industry.
Yeah.
You will find propylene glycol in some way, shape, or form.
Just about every inhaler, right?
Yep.
Well, for the most part, but
yeah.
now they're for the most part, but now they're changing that a little bit differently. They're messing around with the chemistry of a lot of stuff recently because of what we've done. What our industry's done.
Damn vapors.
Oh yeah. Well, it's common knowledge. Yeah. But one thing that I will say, and Leanna just brought that up. Please don't go to your grocery store.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Please do not do that. A lot of them are oil based.
I had that in my notes to bring that up, and I forgot.
or have a section, and you'll actually see it when you get to the citrus. They separate. Okay, so there's a separation between like the oil component or the actual pure extraction, and that's where the separation is. Vegetable glycerin is also used across so many different departments and different, even in bread making, VG is used now. But propylene glycol is chemically manufactured. Vegetable glycerin is naturally done. Propylene glycol actually comes from the petrochemical industry originally. It's a byproduct. So if we could find another way to do that, that'd be great.
Get on that, Paul. Allison, get on. Allison.
Yeah, I think Paul's talking to himself. He's the chemist.
That's. I was asked that question 2 years ago, right? Whether or not it could be done. Theoretically, yeah, but who's going to set up
who's going to put the money up to start a whole new lab? Now, that's the one. PG is what a small percentage of vapors are allergic to, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I want you to talk a little bit about that because I think I haven't seen it an all VG line in quite some time. Have you guys? They kind of like disappeared. They were kind of not like starting to come out and more, but it just seemed like they were getting more.
Like everything's 70-30 now.
Right. And I'm thinking it may have, I mean, when people had to start kind of scraping lines away with the PMTAs coming up because they just couldn't afford to put everything through.
Right.
They probably were judging the popularity of that particular kind of e-liquid only because I know there's some people that preferred it, but there were also people that were probably using it for like cloud comps and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So they were just like, this one really is not one of our top sellers. If we're going to survive and get something through, it might as well be these.
Yeah. And it's easier too when you do your data. Keep all the salts 50-50 and all the juices 70-30.
Yeah. Okay, but the other problem was with that is PG is such a good flavor carrier. Okay, so even these ultra high VG liquids, they still had 10% of flavor that was PG based. They were manufacturing, and you still can get them on special order. You can actually have your concentrates suspended in VG. But
hot girls.
Oh, what?
Here
we go again.
Not done for another hour, John.
I can't. Did you? Somebody already block them out?
No, I can.
I don't see them yet on my.
I haven't got a wrench.
Save the link though for me, Tim.
off. They were the same one that went and
I'm
Jimmy,
just kidding.
Somebody got it
I
already.
Jimmy
kid.
and Phil
Oh,
show.
okay. All right.
Yeah, I kid.
No, it's fine.
Get those girls in.
Some of the flavor companies, Mowgli. Yeah, all right. Into the air conditioning. Yep, good. Yeah, should have given Addie the wrench,
Yeah.
and that would have been dealt with very quickly.
Should do that.
Some of the flavoring companies went down the pathway of creating VG based concentrates. The problem was that they were using more of the concentrate to create the liquid. They weren't as strong as if they're PG based, because you can't pack as much into a VG base. Also, you'd have to change your mixing setup somewhat, that everything would have to be warmed to a specific temperature so you could actually start running it through the machines. All right, that was another issue at that point in time. You still can get them, but they're not very common.
I just Allison mentioned, so I didn't even think about that. But yeah, with PMTAs, and Tim talked about it too. But I mean, if those aren't out there, they're not out there. They won't be out there forever, because it's just not going to happen now, unless they reopen something. Make the FDA making an exception for people that can't vape with PG. I don't think they're going to do that anytime soon.
There's also been reports of like the very early asthma inhalers that were PG based. There were problems with that as well, and they were showing similar signs, like their asthma, like the actual chemical that was helping them, but the PG was defeating the purpose. So that's when they went back to the drawing board. So there have been a few different changes. That's why any asthma inhaler tastes like ass anyway. So
Yeah.
I don't use one anymore.
Yeah. Well, let's get into, I don't know how much you can talk about nicotine. I think that's the part where you're kind of limited, right? Correct? I'm assuming.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not, because that's what I'm actually going to be writing my thesis on.
Okay.
And this is where it gets really interesting. What would you like to know about nicotine?
Well, let's start with the basics. Let's explain the freebase and Nic Salt, how Nic Salts came about.
Okay.
And the differences between the two, so people understand. Because remember, we all ran into that problem where people were like, well, it's only 5%. It's only 5%. And it's like, no, it's 50.
Yeah. Okay. The difference, or the way nicotine came about, it's been around in nature ever since day dot. It's part of the nightshade family. You can find it in vegetables. Other people say, yeah, well, it's impossible, but sorry, but yes, it is available, and it is naturally occurring in vegetables, especially in the nightshade family. The tobacco plant is where the most part of nicotine comes from, until the invention of synthetic. But the tobacco plant, you can get between 0.6% and 3% from a tobacco leaf. Certain countries and certain genetics and very selective breeding of the tobacco plant has now created high yield nicotine from said plant. The extraction process of nicotine from plant matter is generally distillation. That's the first part of it. Nicotine salts came about, and they were actually around quite a lot longer than a lot of people think. And a very early form, or a very early form of it, was actually put together in the late 80s, early 90s by GSK. That was nicotine polyacrylics. that went on into sprays, gums, patches. And if you really want to get nasty with, the people in pharma, I actually know that they did work on a suppository for people that were no.
Tim's eyes lit up.
No, they actually did work on a suppository for people that were in hospital that were heavy smokers that were on nicotine therapy. By the way, you can inject nicotine. It will not kill you unless it's ultra high milligram.
I'd rather have the needle than the suppository.
But yeah, look, point taken. But there's been so many different iterations of nicotine over the years, and we've always had this argument: he who controls the spice controls the universe. The spice being the nicotine. Whoever controls that molecule controls everything, and that's what they've been trying to do with this whole industry. Simple as that. Bottom line, the difference between freebase nicotine, which is extracted from the tobacco plant for the most part, there are other industries now looking whether or not they can extract it, but the amount of tomatoes, eggplants, and everything else, there's no difference. It's only in the genetics of the actual tobacco plant. It's the genetic engineering to create a higher yield nicotine from that plant. That's all it is.
Aren't pharmaceutical companies more moving towards the nic salt than the actual tobacco plant? Because it's cleaner. I mean, it's not factory, but it's, lab made instead of having to extract it from the plant. No, they don't care which. I mean, it's got to make a difference from what kind of medicine.
Pharmaceutical. Okay. The majority of freebase nicotine that's distilled from the tobacco plant, it's the same thing. It's used in pharmaceutical manufacturing. Not a problem. All they do is they modify it and turn it into a polyacrylics, which is like sprays, gums, patches. That's only part Juul. Okay. Yeah. Juul only got the patent on benzoic, right? Which is only that's only the tip of the iceberg when it comes to salt-based nicotines. Each have their uses, each have different formulations. But freebase, it's been around for a long time. Yeah, that's a
whole different show, baby.
We're not going to touch that one today.
That's a whole different show.
Australia has a dirty little secret when it comes to the opioid industry.
Yeah, it does.
Right. The differences. It comes down to the level of nicotine that can be put into a specific product and what your body can uptake from that specific product. A regular cigarette will give you anywhere between 1.5 and 2 milligrams of nicotine. It's not the nicotine that kills you.
Right. Yeah.
It's the actual tar. That's the problem. Okay.
Well, let me ask you a quick question here. Let's go back 12 years ago. Everything was free-based, right? Pretty much. And the freebase that we use today, has the quality of the nicotine gotten better from 12 years ago than it is today? I'm just the freebase, not the actual nic salts, but it has that had any improvement since the existence of vaping? Has that changed chemically wise?
Not chemically, dramatically in the processing of the tobacco plant.
Okay. Because remember how everybody used to say back like 12 years ago, remember it was like, fuck, such a harsh hit. And it seems like the freebase that we're using today, it's almost like a nic salt where it's a much smoother and maybe it's just a better quality of nicotine that's being used in today's stuff?
No, it's the distillation has gotten so good in probably the last 5 years that I could name 3 freebase products that I could actually put up against a 50 milligram Nick Salt, and you wouldn't know whether you were vaping 36 milligram freebase or whether you were vaping 50 milligram Nick Salt. I could guarantee you that right now. Yeah. And that's the other one. CO2 extraction is another one. CO2 extraction, advanced production of nicotine, but distillation is still the main. CO2 extraction was also taken on by the cannabis industry, so it didn't disturb terpenes.
Yeah.
That was a key factor, but that's 5 years ago, Addy. Pretty much that the industry went down that pathway, and there was a few nicotine extractors or distillers that were changing their whole manufacturing process.
What Sharp Tank, just not a pretty face. Well, I don't know. Well, let me ask you, Allie. Is you don't have to give it out, but is your mixologist? Are you guys pretty much your line freebase, or is it kind of a mix?
I mean, our line is a freebase. We do have a synthetic salt and a synthetic line as well, which are basically the same flavors that we had in freebase that we moved over to synthetic when all that stuff happened with PMTA. Not a loophole, just the next legal viable option to stay on the market. I hate that. I hate that when they call it a loophole, because it's not a loophole. We were just trying to do the next legal thing that we could do. But I mean, we still use the freebase. The synthetics are popular because we do them in a 60 and we only do our freebase in 30. And I think the deal, when you buy 2, you get a deal on them. But I think that helps with them do well. But some people still really, really, really just want the freebase. They like the way it hits. And I think it's a lot of the older customers, because some of them are higher PG, and I think they feel more like a cigarette to them.
Would you say that's the same across the board for most of the companies that are out there right now? There's a couple out there that are I don't know how many of them actually got to get PMTAs just based on Nick Salt as their main ingredient for nicotine or freebase, but it's still pretty much a majority of the companies that are out there that are producing e-liquids for us today are still on the freebase.
Yeah, or a synthetic. Yeah. I mean, we only make even the salts. We only make in, just our most popular flavors. We don't do all of them in salts. And we really didn't think salts were going to get approved because of the high nicotine content.
Right.
With the PMTA, the way it looked in the beginning, it looked like they were anti-nicotine. So we're like, we probably won't get these through anyway. So we just did the most popular ones.
Yeah. The difference though between freebase and salt is the half-life and the uptake into the body. The freebase nicotine will stay with you a lot longer. Salt-based nicotine, you inhale it, and it's the half-life, your body gets rid of it, because when you create a salt-based nicotine, all you're really doing is balancing the pH levels. Okay, that's the difference. And I'll get into the 4 variants that I've worked with. I've worked with all of the 4 variants of salt-based nicotine. Each of them have different characteristics. And yeah, Leanna's right. Each nicotine has a different storage capability and shelf life, for that matter. Some breaks down faster than others. Freebase needs to be kept not in a clear bottle. It needs to be kept in something that's actually
an amber. Yeah.
No, something that's UV stabilized.
Oh, okay.
And PET or glass, for that matter. You don't ever store nicotine in an LDPE bottle or polyethylene bottle. You leave it in what it generally came in, which is generally glass or a PET. Yeah. UV and oxygen are probably the two biggest enemies of nicotine on the planet.
All
You
right, the
can
$1 million question.
overcome that. Yeah.
$1 million question, because it gets asked all the time. Which one, everyone says, oh my God, this flavor tastes so much better with Nick Salt than it does with Freebase. Is there that much of a dramatic difference? I taste certain juices that I go, okay, I've had this flavor in the Freebase, and then they what happened? A lot of companies said, well, we better jump on this Salt, Nick, and started coming out with the same. And I noticed a big dramatic difference in flavor. It's like nowhere even close to what I was vaping Freebase. I mean, there is a big difference.
Flavor percentages are actually upped when you're working with salt-based nicotines.
So is that just a bad mixologist that didn't take that into account for that dramatic difference in taste? Because there were some that they weren't even fucking close.
That comes down to three things: who your flavor manufacturer is. If you go to them and you have a really, really, really good understanding, or you're in constant contact with the lab manager, you're going to say to them, well, we would like to release one of our OG flavors, for argument's sake, but in a salt. How can we keep that flavor profile?
Yeah.
Is that a box ghost?
Yeah, he's asking. No,
this isn't even released yet.
Yeah,
this is something that
I've just been. He just did like a magic trick. He had it in his hand, then he brought it up, and it was
showed too much. He already violated his NDA. He showed too much.
No, it's not an NDA at all. It's just something that I'm helping.
Can't hear you, Timmy.
With, right?
Tim, can't hear you. You're muted.
I know what it is. I saw it for a hot second, and I know exactly what it is. Tell that company. Tell that company a brother will help him out too over here.
He made it magically disappear, though. He did that quick sleight of hand thing. It was like there, and it was gone.
As soon as he kind of palmed it like that, I'm like, I know exactly what that one is.
Yeah.
It's something. Yeah, it's something.
Don't show it again. Don't leave him with a cliffhanger. Leave him with a cliffhanger.
So what do you say to those people that say, "Oh, it's just so much better in Nick Salt. It just tastes better," and or the people that say, "Oh, it's much better in a Freebase."
That specifically comes down to the chemistry and how good your mixer is at the time. You've got to be able to work in both platforms. If you can't work with Nick Salt these days, you don't really have a place. No, you don't really have a place. You need to go and re-educate yourself. And now that synthetic is out there, and I'll tell you right now, synthetic is a completely different animal to work with.
The flavor is so much cleaner, I feel like. And
it's
so much better.
It's night and day.
Yeah.
There's no comparison.
All right, you hit me with another question because Allie brought it up, but are you going to be able to, now you have these PMTAs, you have this liquid line out, are you going to be able to, as a company, switch to the synthetic, or are you going to have to come out with a whole new PMTA?
We switched to the synthetic, and we had to file a whole new PMTA for synthetic when they got control of that got put into that umbrella of what they're over. And we had 60 days, 90 days or something ridiculous to file.
90 days.
90 days to file.
It was an absolute nightmare because I was helping a couple of people with data sets, and we had to make sure that the data set was 100% what we'd first submitted. And then when we had to go back and redo all the chemistry for the new nicotine, and then we couldn't vary any of the levels in certain flavors, and we just went, oh man.
Yeah, I didn't know how that was going to work, or if you guys had that opportunity.
It's a whole nother PMTA.
No, it's a whole nother set of data that you've got to submit. You can use the rest of the testing, but then if you really want to go down the rabbit hole of synthetic nicotine, there's variants.
Yeah.
And the variants are just ridiculous right now.
No. Yeah, we talked. I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend I'm not going to devil's advocate both sides. It was the wild, wild west. Fucking e-liquid was coming from everywhere. I could buy it online. I can buy it on Facebook. I could buy it on Snapchat. I can buy everywhere. I mean, people were making it everywhere. I'm not going to pretend
and
like
I
I
don't.
don't.
Way safer than these shitty bootleg disposables
yeah.
that are popping up.
I mean, I don't think that our industry doesn't want to be somewhat regulated. I mean, there should
fair
be
regulation, something like tell us what to do and we'll do it. We'll get there.
Exactly.
We'll change whatever we have to change. We'll do whatever we have to do, but just let us know how to get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, but,
I mean, everyone.
But again, this comes back to an old. Comes back to something that was handed down in the late 80s, early 90s, and that was GSK, GlaxoSmithKline, and Johnson & Johnson, with their introduction of nicotine polyacrylics, which was used in all their products for their gum sprays, patches, and whatever else, right? That's when everything changed, right? Big tobacco, they're minuscule if you look at the tobacco industry these days and the pharmaceutical industry. We have $1 billion industry in comparison to $1 trillion industry within the pharmaceutical space. And they're losing money hand over fist because we're not getting sick anymore.
Yeah.
That's a big difference. That's a big difference.
Yeah.
You're correct.
Yeah.
Don't demonize it.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with regulation, but fair regulation is
fair
regulation is one thing, right?
You don't change the goalpost 2 months after PMTA is done and you're like, wait, what? Like final rules in November, PMTA is due in September. Like,
I mean, there are people out there that actually think that's what we want. We don't want to be regulated.
No, we just want that. We want to be regulated because it's very clear if you see what's happening now that we need to be regulated. Exactly. This is causing a much bigger issue.
Exactly.
But if anyone thinks that there's only one form of like salt-based nicotine, there isn't. There's 4 that you can work with, right? You've got Nick B, or as we call it. These are just nicknames that I've given them over the years, right? You've got nicotine salt benzenate, okay? You've got nicotine salt tartrate. You've got nicotine salt malate. You've got nicotine salt cell.
The girls are back.
The girls are back.
I got them.
Damn it. And the last one is cyclinate, which they're 4 different acids that you can use, right? The benzenate, it's the strongest natural nicotine feeling that you can get, right? Then we get onto the one that I love the most, and the one that always gives me a headache pronouncing it, cyclinate, and it's the most delicate.
Yeah.
It actually almost imparts a citrus note into, and it helps fruit mixes dramatically. All right, and that's probably the one that you're talking about, Ali, because that one is absolute genius.
Big Pharma is easily 7 times bigger. Big Tobacco wishes they had Big Pharma money.
Yeah, they are. And then we get into malate, the most organic. Okay. And it's also a delicate citrus, like front note, and a delicate citrus after note. That's also being used now in China a lot in these disposables. Right, but I wish China would cut down on these cooling agents. It's doing my head in. Over 9,000 just in cooling agents, but for what reason? And then tartrate, right, is there's very big differences, Beast, and that's what we're getting into now.
Yeah.
And then tartrate is the one that a lot of the commercial manufacturers outside of, yeah, I know, we're getting into all of this now.
Yeah,
These are
go.
all
I'm just putting
different
them up there. I'm
variants.
not trying to get you to stop. I'm just kind of want to make sure everybody knows that I see their questions in there.
And this is the highest nicotine absorption of all of them, right? Is tartrate. This is what Blue and other companies have been looking at and working with, because this gives you the most cigarette-like feeling. This also provides the highest nicotine absorption rate out of the 4 salt-based nicotines that a lot of the companies that are working with. Some of them, they won't allow you access to these. Some of them are under specific agreements with certain companies. They won't allow you access unless you want to buy kilos and kilos of pure nicotine, which can create thousands upon thousands of bottles. And tartrate salt is also used in cessation products. Yeah. That's the other big difference that not a lot of people talk about.
How many nicotine supplier? No, that's probably kind of crazy to ask, but how many are actually out there that we use?
In the US, you've got a few different manufacturers now. On the West Coast, you've still got Nude Nicotine that also they do distillation, bottling. They've got 3 different salts or 4 different salts. They've got 4 different freebase variants. They've got I think one other. I think they've also got a synthetic now. You've got Nicotine River, who is also a distributor.
God, that name came up a lot in Sample Box page. Nicotine River. Hey, anytime somebody, where can I buy nicotine? And they're just shut down now, right?
No, they're still there.
Okay.
But
they just got a denial letter, I think, from the FDA. Actually.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah,
but you have to be a manufacturer to actually buy from them. That's the other difference. You had a couple of other big players. There is a company that I know that does work on Nic salts because they're associated with they do their own grows for extraction. I can't name that company.
Whispered in Allie's ear.
No. Ali knows who they are, and I cannot.
Yeah, don't say it. Don't say it.
Nic Base, Carolina Extracts.
Hey, Paul.
Hang on.
I double dog dare you.
Is Delosi now doing their own nicotine? I never knew that. I never knew Delosi was in the nicotine game. I knew that Nic Base was in Carolina Extracts, but I had no idea that Delosi was playing. That's a new one for me. Thank you. Right. I had no idea that Delosi was playing, and they're out of Delosi from memories out of Florida. So yeah, that's interesting. I had no idea about that.
I trust that name because it's Italian. I trust that name because it's Italian.
The Ferrari of vaping.
It's the Ferrari of Nick. Vroom, vroom, vroom.
Fairly new. Oh, yeah. And Nude Nicotine will now sell to anyone in the United States. They've actually got licensing to ship to anyone in the United States again.
Good for them.
That's a big thing.
Now here you go. Big thing. Big question. DIYer. How much should a DIYer buy? Just getting started. Now, just getting started. How much should the DIYer buy?
Anywhere between 100 mils and 500 mils of 100 milligram.
And how much would that be? Take a wild stab at it.
Can someone get me Nick prices in the US right now? Because
oh, that's right. I forgot. I forgot. Nikki,
Oh, wait, I can.
Allie, how much are you guys paying for a 55-gallon drum of Nick sauce?
We don't get that much. We get everything from Cure, like that Mad Vapes. They ship us our nicotine because we use them on our juice bar.
Yeah, I've got no idea of the current pricing in the United States.
And we get like a liter. We get liters of 300 milligrams.
Yeah.
Well,
Michael says he's bought a 1 liter.
Yeah, $100.
$100. And shit, 100 milligrams. So a liter would be shit. That's a lot for. I mean, especially when you're not. I mean, if you're beginning, is that still a lot to have as far as stuff? No, okay. That's what I'm asking.
God no. Oh God no. No. If you're messing around with mixers and you're dumping 2.8 grams, 3 grams into your mix, that's
okay.
Sweet
and
FA. Nick Vape, 84 a liter. Oh, that's a really good price.
Yeah, that's a
good
price.
130, 150 for us for the 300 milligram.
Oh well, yeah, but no 300 milligram for the DIY boys, unless you know what the hell you're doing with nicotine handling. I'm sorry.
Once
you jump over 100 milligram, I don't care what anyone says. Like 100 milligram here at home, yes, I will work with it with no gloves, but I know what I'm doing, and I will go and wash my hands straight away. The uptake into the skin is around 7 minutes. Okay, so it doesn't magically, but 100 milligram makes your calculations easier.
That's what I wanted to talk to you about too, because there's a difference in the strength of it or the quality of it, right? Is that no? Okay, that's what I thought there was. I thought there was like this is a more not concentrated is not the right word, but more.
No, it works with all your calculations easier. There's a little chart that you can actually use, and
you can't get it on your skin. It will burn your skin at 100 million.
Oh, rubbish! Complete
nutter. Said by the tough ass Aussie.
No,
I've gotten the 300 milligram on, like when we were setting up all the juice bars in all the stores. I got the 300 milligram on me. I just washed it off. It was fine. I mean, it was on my arm. It wasn't in my eye. That would probably be
That's a whole different ball. That's the eye wash machine.
Yeah.
Okay, Michael, you are because you're actually inhaling. Right. A lot of people, if they're working with 100 milligram, they'll wear not a respirator, but a lot of people do wear some type of mask.
It's a good idea.
Well, it's it's fair because if you're there working with it, but you never leave the container open, you're always your skin. As I said, 100 milligram, right?
Yeah.
It takes around 7 to 8 minutes for it actually to enter through the skin into the bloodstream.
Well, I always thought that there was, and I don't even know what the proper word to use, but the strength level of the nicotine, the quality of the nicotine makes like it's all like if there isn't like grade A, B, and C is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yes, there is. There's grade A, B, and C in nicotine as well.
Okay, that's what I was. That's what
grade A. Grade A, you're looking at 1,000 milligram. Okay, B is 500, and anything below 500 is generally grade C.
Is the quality difference between those?
No, it's just how it's broken down from 1,000 milligram or pure nicotine into your 500, your 250, your 100, your 300,
so it's just the
whatever.
Size, the qualities, the size is what it's the difference between A, B, and C. I mean, it's not like I'm getting at like batteries, like 18. This is the B battery bin. This is the C. You know what I'm saying? Is there a setup like that? Because we always hear people say, "Well, it's shitty because they're using shitty nicotine. The quality of nicotine isn't as good as this brand.
No, that comes down to the lab setup and how they break the pure nicotine down.
Okay.
If it's in an ISO 5 air-free environment or something where the oxygen isn't really such a thing, then you don't have a problem.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
When you've got, well, you can use argon, right? When you're filling bottles to remove the oxygen from the bottle, and it stops oxidization. That's another different technique that's used.
Okay.
And going back to a thing that Mowgli put there earlier, there's a company in France that they put the leaf in at the front. It goes through the extraction process, and not one part between the extraction process and getting to the mixing line, it actually sees oxygen in any way, shape, or form.
Oh, wow.
It gets put in at the line. That's it. There is no human contact with it from the time you put the leaf into the front of the hopper and when it's on the mixing line itself. There is no human interaction. And that's one of the very first that I'd seen. And Phil Basato and Dimmy actually did a walkthrough. And I'm sitting there dribbling and drooling at this lab going,
nicotine.
Well,
all right, Paul, you have like
nicotine helps your brain.
I gave you 3 more minutes. I'm going to give you like 3 minutes left here. Just in a nutshell, kind of generalize everything we kind of talked about, concentrates, nicotine, stuff like that before we switch over to the news. And how important it is to be safe. Let's not forget about that. Paul's like, fuck you. You give me 3 minutes, you bastard.
No, that's quite easy. First thing, don't go and buy your concentrates from a supermarket or a grocery store. It's not worth your time and effort. B, research what you're going to be doing. Don't go and spend $1 gazillion when you first start out. C, when you're working with nicotine, always be safe and careful. Make sure, please don't measure by volume these days. Buy yourself a simple set of scales down to 0.01. Measure everything out by weight. It will help you in the long run create and be able to recreate a recipe that you might have come up with.
And you know what? I'm going to say something. One thing, it has improved my fucking cooking and my doughs and my pastas that I make and stuff like that. I never thought about it. I never said until I started watching YouTube. Everybody's weighing shit, and I'm like, okay. And I could tell dramatically the difference. It's crazy. You're right.
If you look, when you're at our level, we use electronic pipettes and stuff like that. They're dialed into micrograms.
Yeah.
But if we're just developing something at home before it's taken to the lab with a concept, we will use scales. Like even if you hang on.
I bought a cheap one from Amazon. I bought a cheap one from Amazon. It works great. I put my bowl right there, I throw my flour in exactly what it's crazy.
Right. And between each individual flavor, right? Make sure that you tear the scales. So don't tear them apart, right? I've tried doing that many times, but make sure you take notes, your flavor notes, and if you really need to, you really need a set of scales. Like these are unsettled at the moment, but these were given to me. These are just this is actually like an industrial micro set. Yeah, wheat scales count. Yeah, smart cookie. Fucking oath they do.
Now that's Oh, and just like that, Mr. Paul has left the show. You're muted, Timmy. I love hearing what you have to say. So
I think we just found out that Paul owns a meth lab. He just blew himself up.
Technologists wanted to go into that. We are having technical
Take notes.
difficulties.
Don't drop your scale on top of your fucking hardware that keeps you on
That-
the live show.
That's
Paul
E.
literally just dropped the knowledge on us and left.
That is E. E is do not drop your scale.
He's back.
That's hilarious. It just kicked me off.
Yeah.
Bottom line is, yes, you can use dope scales. Whoever said that, that's hilarious. But you can buy, you can,
Yeah, that's perfect.
0.00 resolution.
Yeah.
These are way up to 250 grams. Okay.
Yeah.
And please make sure that you buy, like, even a small set will work for the time being.
Mm-hmm.
But then also jewelry scales work as well.
Yeah.
Anything that you can go to gram, but it needs to be 0.00, 2 parts past. We're now at 4 parts past the dot. Okay, that's how far we're going to make sure that we can get everything. Because when you're ramping up to do 250 liters, if you change that decimal point by 1 dot, you're adding, subtracting, you're going to lose a lot of money very quickly if you don't know what the hell you're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
All right. Yeah, Paul. Your 3
also,
minutes is up. No, go ahead.
Okay, mixing software. There is mixing software out there available to everyone. Juice Me Up's a great platform to start with. ELR has their own. Addy, I don't remember any of the other platforms that are still live. So if you could throw them out there, that'd be great.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. That's how you make e-liquid, but I'm not going to show you how to do it today.
Yeah, Paul will, next week. Paul will be mixing a flavor live on the show. No, I'm kidding. His secret recipe, his best #1 selling flavor. He will mix it live on our show next Friday.
No way. No way.
He will share the ingredients. He'll share everything.
No.
All right, it's time for news. Mr. Tim, are you ready for some news, Timmy?
Yes.
All right, I want to make sure you're unmuted this time. All right, let me get your bumper here. Let me give Tim the spotlight.
I was just making sure everybody understood. Don't go get one of those scales from the produce section, the ones that hang like by the bananas and shit. Don't get that one.
Don't steal the one from the supermarket.
And don't get the one out of your tackle box that weighs the bass that you catch over the weekend. Okay, those fucking scales are not the ones that you want. I hope you guys were taking notes. Okay, all right. We're tapping my tiny little pad. I think my printer's out of paper right now. So yeah, we're gonna do some news. We had some overlap. Obviously, I'm blonde, and I didn't get the memo because I wasn't on the show the week before. So I'm in the group chat, and I'm talking about what articles I was going to share last week. And then finally, Allison comes out with this brilliant piece of information. She goes, "There's no show, silly."
There's no.
And I'm like, oh, hell, thank God I can go get fat and not have to worry about any guilt. So anyway, there's some rollover from last week, but we're going to talk about one quick article. This is it ended up a happy story. It could have ended up a really bad story. But we all just kind of chuckled a little bit about this one. But there was an article in the New York Post. John brought this up before the show, so let me share. Hold on one second. Let me present.
Present.
I need to present. I can't share. Sharing is not the thing we do anymore around here.
Oh wait, we're gonna have to change this. Okay, hold on.
Yeah, that's fine. Make me little. Go
ahead. I'll bring it back. Hold on. Oh no, I can't bring it back.
Hold on. Don't worry, I got it. I'm already in present mode.
We're having technical difficulties.
Sharing is caring. Presenting is something else. All right, so
This-
we found out that there was a dude who somehow fell off of a cruise ship, and he was floating around the ocean for 15 hours, and he got rescued. So he's okay. He lived.
okay.
Okay, but I pulled up the article just because we were curious about looking into it, and it looks like Carnival passenger rescued after 15 hours at sea got in trouble for vaping. You notice they had to throw that shit into the article. So there's your gotcha headline, right?
Gotcha.
So let everyone be paying attention to the PAVE post next week, because they're going to somehow correlate vaping to cruise lines.
Vaping makes you clumsy.
Exactly. You know, somehow this is a huge detriment to the
You vape,
future
you'll
of
fall
humanity.
off a ship.
Exactly. Yeah. So if kids don't vape, you'll fall off cruise ships. No, actually, I kind of did sort of spot check this article pretty quick. They never did determine what he was vaping. However, they did go into the conversation about how he kept trying to sneak and find other places to vape because the smoking section on the cruise ships is in a very specific area. They don't let you smoke or vape in the casinos anymore. And typically you can only smoke or vape on like one side of the ship in a certain particular area. So it seemed he was sneaking around and trying to stealth vape or vape in other parts of the ship. Yeah. And they think he was drunk, and they think that he somehow went to go sneak off to go vape somewhere in a very clandestine area. And that may have been the cause for him to fall off the boat. Now, I'm sure people have asked him, how the fuck did you fall off the boat, bro? I mean, that just doesn't happen every day. And I don't know, but apparently he was there with someone else on the boat. And she reported it because she hadn't seen him in a while. The 28-year-old man who hasn't been identified was with his sister at the Carnival Valor's bar at 11 p.m. Wednesday when he took a bathroom break and never came back. The cruise line said she only reported him missing at noon the following day.
Then
prompting the Cozumel Mexico-bound vessel to retrace its path. So in the end, he was spotted by a cargo ship or something. And there's actually video in this thing. I wish I could find the one. Where's
what
the
kind
one
of mod
video?
Is that?
Like no, he's like.
I want to know if the mobs arrived.
I want to know, did it get wet and was it still charged?
I can see him falling in and holding his arm up like this, trying not to get his mod wet.
Was he using an aid?
That's probably how they saw him in the water.
Well, I mean, I probably won't. The ad's going to end in 1 second, but I think there's. Well, I guess this isn't it, but there was video, and he's like doing the breaststroke.
Yeah,
out there in the ocean, he was just swimming when the
blinking lights. No, it was blinking lights on his mod that got him.
Could be. It could be.
Yeah, so it's vape cloud.
He had the MVP. He had the MVP with the flashlight.
That's but that's one lucky son of a bitch right there.
Yeah, you think about that. I mean, out in the middle of the ocean for 15 hours, he's not eaten by a shark, not eaten by anything else that's floating around in those waters. So that's crazy.
Yeah, well. Apparently the Valor has all kinds of jumpers because
I'm not sure where this ship was, but that water had to have been cold as fuck.
Oh yeah, they said he had hypothermia, right?
Yeah, he had to.
I'm sure he probably wouldn't have lasted too long. He's lucky he didn't get eaten by a shark or something. So anyway,
he only lived because he was vaping, because vaping saves
that's
lives.
it. Yeah, the sharks were deterred away from the vapor. They were like, "Oh, that's vapor. Fucking stay away from that shit."
I've seen them Truth Initiative ads.
I've seen that PAVE video.
I just like how they had to, they go, well, let's run through the Rolodex of reasons why he might have fallen off the ship.
Not that he was drunk.
Couldn't have been drunk. Wasn't suicidal. Wasn't like on a dare. No, he was a vapor. He was vaping, and he must have snuck off onto the bow of the ship, like friggin' Leonardo DiCaprio on the front of the Titanic to go take a drag off of his mom.
I'll never let go.
Beast Gamer, I can't stop laughing because I'm picturing. I know it's sad. I'm picturing him falling off the boat, and all I can picture him doing is what we all do if we had like a cell phone in our hand, and that's just trying not to get our cell phone wet. And I'm just picturing this guy falling into the ocean, holding his fucking water.
I mean, if you were drunk, I got to imagine that would have snapped you into consciousness so fucking fast. like it was like trying to drive drunk and passing a cop on the freeway or something.
Yeah.
You're probably like, oh shit, But anyway, I just thought it was funny that they had to throw the whole vaping thing into
course
the
they
mix.
did.
Anyway, yeah, of course.
I am shocked that I'm shocked that Pave didn't grab this or one of the other groups didn't tweet this week yet. Give him time. They'll catch up.
Exactly. So anyway, guy. So do we have to develop a vape lifesaver? Phil brought it up.
You push the
Vaping-
button. Just push the button on the fucking life jacket comes out.
It'll be one of those donut things they throw a life preserver, and
Anakin, get on it, Anakin.
Yeah, we'll just
Flashlight with Army
stencil
knife.
the letters and vaping saves lives around the
There you
circle.
go.
It'll be the new MPV7. It'll have the flashlight, the compass, a knife, and a life jacket.
Yeah.
All built in the mod.
The Swiss Army vape knife.
Yeah.
All right.
There you go.
So this was a piece that was done by Matthew Holman talking about how the FDA has been getting it right for youth vaping, but it's time to do more for smokers. So I'm not really sure I took from this as much as I thought I would like to take from it. It's really more or less his sort of just what do they call it?
He's playing both sides.
A
He's got to.
Desarte.
He just left working for the FDA, and he's working for a tobacco company that's trying to get shit approved. He's not going to bash them.
Yeah.
Right. So he just he talks about his career in the FDA, but he goes on to say, recently the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and Centers for Disease Control and Prevention released the 2022 New York Tobacco Survey, or the Youth Tobacco Survey results, which showed underage e-cigarette use had dropped below the level that the FDA declared to be an epidemic. In 2018, the data show the epidemic continues to be reversed. The same data showed that combustible cigarette smoking is at an all-time low. So this guy's pointing out the numbers, which everyone else is still all over Twitter and every other social media platform talking about how the epidemic continues with the youth. But he's pointing out that it's fallen to significantly much lower levels. But what he does bring up is this important point about how the progress isn't being matched by a driving down of the number of adult smokers, currently numbering 34 million Americans, according to the American Cancer Society. The FDA can do more to help America stop smoking, and they need to start talking to smokers again like they did before the 2018 New York. Why do I always say New York? Because NY.
Yeah.
The National Youth Tobacco Survey data were released. And as I kept reading on this article where he keeps sort of opining that the FDA needs to step up and be louder in pushing, helping adults turn to safer alternatives, or at least kind of regurgitating the same kind of speak that they, like if you're not a smoker now, don't start. If you smoked, the best thing for you to do is just to quit, and then beyond that you can. And I'm thinking to myself, as much as we'd like to think that, people would turn to the government for solid advice, I got to imagine that the massive number of smokers, of these 34 million people who do smoke, don't have a fucking care in the world about what the government says anymore. I think most of them are at don't tell me what to do. Don't tell me how to live my life. If I want to smoke and smoke it up, then let me go ahead and do that. And it's none of your business what I do on my personal time. I mean, yes, I realize it's bad for me, but who are you to be in my ear? People knocking on my front door to try to get me to convert to something. So, but I do think that in this article, he kind of starts to head down the alley of somewhat kind of suggesting that e-cigarettes could be a decent suggestion as an option for getting away from smoking, but he doesn't specifically land on that. He kind of pitter patters around the whole idea. It almost seems like he wants to say NRT, gums, patches, that kind of stuff before he wants to say e-cigarettes. Now he did kind of regurgitate, some more of the talk about how the the National Youth Tobacco Survey and the FDA, all their efforts, to get the kids away from e-cigarettes, he talks about how that campaign was specifically targeted at trying to reduce e-cigarette use with the youth. But he doesn't go the other direction, where he kind of specifically says, but maybe we should start pitching this to adults. Maybe we shouldn't make it such a demon. Maybe we shouldn't make it such a bad thing or make it seem worse than smoking. Maybe this is something that could help smokers. He doesn't specifically really kind of say that. He just kind of teeters around it. He said the FDA has invested heavily in numerous multimedia campaigns directed at teenagers and parents that are meant to reduce underage e-cigarette use. These types of campaigns should continue. What's completely missing is a similar investment in communicating with adult smokers. So he doesn't say what you want in that investment. He just says that they should spend a shitload of money trying to get adults to quit smoking. The FDA must engage smokers in a consistent, public, and meaningful way to help them ideally quit smoking altogether, or urge those who don't quit to switch to innovative smoke-free products. Heat not burn. What are you fucking talking about, bro?
Of course, he works for Philip Morris.
Right. Bloomberg's thingamajigger, whatever he wants to put out. Hal or whatever, Hal, whatever it's called. FDA acknowledges that such products are a better choice than continued smoking. Let's make sure adult smokers know that. Well, I'm sure he's probably trying to stay within the framework. He doesn't specifically say it, but as we all know right now, e-cigarettes and e-liquid and none of that's FDA approved, so it doesn't have the nod of approval. So I don't think he can specifically opine for that. Although I don't think it would have hurt if he had come out and said that, because it probably would have been a nice notch in our belt to be able to go, look, here's a former FDA head or a top scientist anyway, and he is in effect basically saying maybe e-cigarettes should be mentioned in the conversation. Maybe we shouldn't be demonizing them. He did kind of mention one thing about e-cigarettes. I forgot the point that he made, but he did make a point about e-cigarettes. Not directly, but sort of indirectly. The message that all Americans need to hear from health experts is a simple one. If you don't use tobacco products now, don't start. If you smoke, quitting is the best choice. If you don't quit, change to a smoke-free alternative. The message is supported by science, as evidenced by FDA's authorization of nicotine products that, for adult smokers who completely switch to them. Again, what are you talking about? What are you suggesting? Can significantly reduce their exposure to the harmful chemicals found in smoke, or for some products reduce the risk of lung cancer and other smoking related diseases. So he's saying it and he's not saying it. But I don't know. I don't know really what I want to take away from this specifically. I mean, I kind of want to interject my own thoughts into it and kind of presume what he's talking about. But I just wish that they would be a little bit more forthcoming. Oh, the thing that he mentioned is that the health community and the FDA had previously acknowledged, and they are aware of the fact that e-cigarettes are safer than smoking. They know what the real evidence is. There's just too much money levied in trying to get them to effectively outlaw it or put the kibosh on it.
Yeah, I got a great video that says that.
Right. So, I mean, he pats his own back a little bit. He goes, I hope my old colleagues at FDA, who are amazing public health scientists, will take the needed actions to accelerate the transition to a healthier America by moving smokers away from cigarettes. Yeah, whatever, bro. So,
and saying that public health scientist, go back to school.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, I just think that they need, it would be nice. I think personally, I just sort of feel like if the government could come out and tell one specific truth about health choices and being realistic about finding a healthier alternative to, the most preventable, form of cancer that, that we can engage in, you would think that they would just at least tell this one truth, and maybe that might restore some faith in people's view on the federal government and their agencies and the information that they push. But I mean, I just think most cigarette smokers are like, fuck you. You're getting your tax money. Let me be. Let me just be. All right, so there was that. I thought that was an interesting article, nonetheless, just to talk about. Any other thoughts on that?
No.
Okay.
Can I play this video real quick?
Yeah, go.
All right.
Do I have to stop presenting?
No. I think
Okay.
it should work.
All right, so this one was an interesting one. I don't know if anybody happened to catch some of the videos that were flying around social media. I know it eventually found its way onto the Facebook feeds for a little bit. I know it was on Twitter. It kept repeating all the time, but I don't know if anybody saw the video of some nondescript Asian factory where this guy had what looked to be about, I don't know, like 100 friggin' cloned Elf Bar mods, like in a tray thing, like
Oh
lined
yeah,
up
we
for
talked
packaging.
about this. Yeah.
Yeah, and he was just he was testing them out by putting his own mouth over the mouthpiece and puffing on each one to make sure that it worked before he pushed them on down the. Yeah. He just was like
That's
leaning
how they're
over.
doing it. Saliva is not the worst thing that's going to be in that vape. I'm just
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, that's probably not the most disgusting thing about that vape,
Yeah.
but it just was very shocking. And
Yeah.
I hope an eye opener to people that you have to be, you have to be vigilant. You have to be making sure what you're buying is legit. Now,
Check it out.
now here's the other realistic side of this: is that this is really more aimed at the UK, with a lot of these fakes coming into the UK market as opposed to the American market. Although there's knockoffs and fakes and
We have
stuff.
a ton of fake elf bars all
Yeah.
the time. All
So
the time.
do they sneak in with your regular distributors?
No, not we buy directly from the manufacturer,
Yeah.
but we have
Yeah.
customers that I actually wrote a blog post. I think it was one of my first ones that I wrote for WVA, like that how to check it, because they look. I even put like a picture that was put into our employee group chat of how much they look alike and how hard it is to tell. And the customer came in and was like, "This doesn't taste right," and it was the same colors as the kiwi strawberry elf bar, but it was strawberry banana. And so like the color was off, but the font was off. But to somebody who's just going into one of these little shops that I feel like just keep popping up all over the place recently, like, and they buy a disposable, that they have no idea what they're getting. And if they don't know to scratch that and scan that QR to get that code
Yep.
to see if it's authentic, that they really have no idea what they're vaping.
Exactly. So I mean, just you got to be vigilant as a consumer too. I mean, and it's not about trying to save some money here, save some money there, but be cautious as you're buying things in the
They're
general
not even
public.
really any cheaper. I mean, we sell elf bars for $21.99, and the little bodega where the fakes are coming from are $20.
Okay, so yeah, but I mean, maybe they're, like you said, that code is valuable to at least validate whether or not it's an actual real product.
Takes a few seconds.
All right. So this article came out a couple days before Thanksgiving, but it said retailers and consumers are being warned that potentially dangerous counterfeit disposables flooding into the UK market are being produced in squalid Chinese factories with no license for manufacturing and regard for public safety. Since the launch of counterfeiting action by Elf Bar in June 2021, it has cracked down on more than 120 counterfeit production and sales targets, including factories, warehouses, logistics, and foreign trade companies. Seizure of more than 2 million finished counterfeit Elf Bar products, millions of packaging boxes, anti-counterfeit codes, which they're trying to spoof that too, and semi-finished vaping pipes and other accessories. I think the most major takeaway from this is that you are seeing Elf Bar take preemptive and aggressive action at trying to shut these companies down. They're not sort of letting it go by the wayside and leaving it up to authorities to try to control. They're actually leading the charge on trying to infiltrate these factories and these counterfeiters and try to get them at least curb the number and amount of stuff that's finding its way into the public market. But again, I can't sit here and tell you that I believe that this stuff wouldn't still go on even if we could still be the wild, wild west. I'm sure people would still try to take advantage of opportunity and make fake stuff as best they could, just so they could get their hand in the cookie jar. But there's another side of me that says, well, I mean, outside of the UK, which is one of the more unique country scenarios that we've experienced throughout all of this that we're going through and dealing with, is that this is going to happen, and this is what's going to happen when you start driving this underground and making it more of a pirated industry, where, people will not give a rat's ass about you and put dangerous shit in your hands just so they can make a buck. Victor Chow, the chief executive of Elf Bar, said consumers would be horrified if they saw the conditions in which these products are made, and quietly right so. The criminals behind these counterfeit products care nothing about product safety or the health of consumers, and they cut every corner possible to maximize their profits. Quite frankly, the conditions in these factories are absolutely squalid, where workers man production lines in filthy conditions with no regard to hygiene at all. So it kind of goes on, a little bit more of the same. And he does admit that, that even with all of their concerted efforts, that, it's going to be extremely impossible for them to stop all of them hitting the market, but they're trying to make a massive dent. So I'll just finish this article just by saying that Mr. Chow added, while it can be hard to tell a fake product from the real thing just by looking at it, there is no excuse for any retailer to sell a counterfeit Elf Bar product. Retailers can scan a code on the packaging to check the authenticity of the product, and we urge them to do this for every product they sell. Fighting fakes is a priority at Elf Bar, and we remain zero tolerance for these fake vapes right across the entire industry. The UK market is very important to us, and we will continue to do all in our power to ensure that British consumers have confidence in their vapes. So with that said, scary, good that they're doing the things that they feel they need to do just to, kind of keep themselves in the good light of the vapor industry. But be careful, kids.
And if you do scan a counterfeit, you'll just get like a blank page, or it'll say page not found, because we actually did scan a couple of fake ones, and that's what happens. So they do scan, but it doesn't bring you to the official Elf Bar website.
So
that's important. Just it takes a few. I mean, my kids buy them, and that's the first things they do it right there in the store too. They don't wait to go outside because they want to make sure they can get their money back. And so far they haven't had any issues with getting any fake ones, but I'm sure if you confront this shop owner or the store that you bought it, hey, this is counterfeit, you're going to get your money back. He's not going to argue.
Just go to a reputable shop. Don't, I feel like a lot of these places are just popping up all over the place because they're just opportunists. They're trying to make money, trying to make a quick buck, and they're really not about harm reduction. I've been into some of these places.
Do you think it's a more so of a C-store thing than it is a vape shop?
Well, these are like tobacco. Like they have like big bright lights. This is all over like local Charleston right now. Like I think I've seen at least 6 of them pop up in the last 6 months, and they just say vape, tobacco, hookah. And they're all like big lights on the windows, and they're real small shops, but that's all they do. And I went in there and bought some myself because I wanted to see, and every single thing that I bought was not authentic.
Would kind of curious, do you think they're being scammed themselves as a shop owner, or do you think they're actually going out of their way to?
I mean, these places are not like a typical vape shop. They don't ask you how much you smoke. They don't ask you. They just, what do you want?
No, I mean, it's not they're like buying from distributors.
They're probably just getting it as cheap as they possibly can. I would say, and they're not doing their homework and making sure that like the distribution centers that we purchase from have contracts with these companies where they can get them directly from them.
Okay, that's what I was kind of curious. I was thinking maybe they don't even know that they're getting scammed.
I mean, they probably are just looking for the cheapest thing, and typically you get what you pay for.
Yeah. Sounds good. All right, guys. Hey, we are out of here. I want to thank everybody for joining us, and I want to thank Paul. Paul, that was great being able to break down and hopefully everyone gets a better idea of what's going on there. And I swear to God, if I hear one more person talk about metals, I'm going to fucking lose it and go crazy. But I appreciate you breaking that all down and helping everybody understand a little bit about how it all works out.
I will put a paper that's just been released by Professor Roberto Sussman on metals, and
I just posted it. I just posted it in the Billion Lives today. I was reading that. It's the same thing I was saying. They close the airflow, and
good luck in finding them. They don't exist, but it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Nope.
All right, guys. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Allie. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. We'll be here. We'll be here. I swear to God, there's no holiday, right? There's no,
No holiday. No
no
holiday.
holiday. We will be here. No Australian holidays, no American holiday. We'll see everybody next Wednesday. Again, thank you, everybody, for joining us.
Right.
Peace out.